Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks show, powered by ComEd. It's getting easier for your business to switch to electric vehicles. Learn more at comed.com/clean. Hope you're having a good Monday. It is cold, but it is warming up here in the studio. I'm Jay Zawaski, Greg Boysen, Mario Tirabassi, and all the way to my left is newly inked Blackhawks forward Nick Foligno. Nick, hey. Congrats, and thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad we can make this work. So I'm pumped. You guys will be sick of me in 2 years' time.
If you stick with us that long, we'll be very, very pleased. That would be awesome. But congrats are in order, of course. Great to have you here. And what kind of went into your decision to say, hey, Chicago's where I want to be?
Yeah, it was a pretty easy conversation to have with Kyle, honestly, at the time, and just. I think I really believed in his vision from our conversation, even from the summer before this season started. And, and I know a lot of things have gone on unforeseen this year, but the plan is still in place and the desire to move this team along. And so I think it just lined up with my visions too. And I talked about it, like you come here and you're invested, that's just how I am. I jump in with 2 feet, and I just couldn't see myself really going anywhere else and having to start over when I've already really put the time in and really got to know the guys and enjoy the group and the staff, and now we fall in love with the city too. So it just it all fell into place, and now I'm really excited to kind of put roots down and really get to work here on building this thing that I've talked about that I think our team can get to.
The last couple of games seems like the team has kind of turned a corner a little bit with their performance, and it's something that you've talked about, that Luke Richardson has talked about all year. Is this kind of the timing of everything? Signing the extension and then the team kind of playing this way, does it kind of boost that excitement a little bit?
Big time. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes it does take a bit of a shock to the system to really hammer home the point that we were trying to make earlier, and just how we need to compete and the mindset that you have to have in the NHL every single game. And you lose a lot of players, and sometimes you realize, man, this is all we can control. And I saw that right from after, even in that New Jersey game, I think we really had that mindset. And but afterwards, when everyone's kind of counting out the team, they're just like, well, we have nothing to lose now at this point. All we can control is how hard we compete, and that's pretty much it. And it's sad because we played some great games that we deserve better in. Yeah. And this league, you do need success in order to kind of reiterate what you're trying to do. But I'm so proud of the guys and the way they've competed and battled, and I want for them so badly while I'm out, especially to get success, because they've earned a lot of that even in these games. And but that's how hard it is to win in this league, and the compete. And I don't like losing, and I think that was the message early on. Like there's a way you lose sometimes where you're like, what, we put everything we had into it. And I can honestly say every guy in watching the games has put everything they had into these losses, unfortunately. But it's going to turn that way as we get healthier here and hopefully get some wins.
You got back on the ice when we were leaving the room. There were a couple of green jerseys waiting for the Zamboni to go by, and.
My 2 kids, I said I was skating.
I was going to say, so tell us about the work ethic of Samuel Sawa, but of course, Connor Bedard on the ice. I mean, this is not a surprise that we're a week.
It's crazy.
It should be a surprise, but it isn't, that we're a week from jaw surgery, and are you more surprised that it's a week, or are you more surprised that it wasn't like 4 days ago?
Yeah. No, I'm surprised we kept him off that long, but I was laughing because he was genuinely pissed off today that he couldn't do more. Like he was, you could see he's like ready to shoot a puck, and I'm like, hey, he has to realize that you don't want to set back in a situation like this. It's amazing that he's on the ice right now, and just speaks volumes about him as a kid and what kind of mindset he has, and how even on an injury like this, he's it's not even a thought of how he's like, I feel great, I'm ready to play tomorrow, And you want guys like that. They're just itching to get back and make a difference. And I'm so proud of how he's handled it. But, he has to be smart. And, this is a big injury, obviously, and something that he has to deal with. But it's really unique to see how he's handled this. And, I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him that he's on the ice. That's a place where you can almost get your own mental therapy, too, when you're just out there stick handling the puck. So I'm sure that's even been great for him himself.
I mean, obviously, the fan base is super excited about him, the talent, the character. But when you see that work ethic, I mean, that is something to be just as excited about. I mean, I know we get people say, oh, he's got to get better defensively. Well, first, he's 18.
Yeah.
Second of all, he's got that work ethic where you shouldn't be worried about.
No. That's something that as soon as he understands the league more and commits to that and really understands why that's so important, he'll make tons of strides in the defensive department. And, and luckily for him, his offense negates a lot of that anyway. So, his work ethic is outstanding, though, and just how bad he wants to be the best. I've talked about that, and he's still learning what that means, even at this level. But he takes care of his body tremendously well. He's wiser beyond his years than an 18-year-old, but he's not afraid to also admit when he doesn't know something. I think that's also a nice thing. Like he's still looking to learn. He's not a guy that thinks he knows it all. He just has this incredible work ethic and drive to be the best. And with the hunger to get better and learn, I mean, the sky's the limit for him, obviously.
And how are you feeling with the finger and everything?
This is the stupidest injury I've ever had in my lifetime. It's driving me nuts. Personally, I think I'm handling it worse than Connor's handling his. Just because you feel completely healthy and you got this stupid finger that's holding you out. But I got to listen to the docs and don't want to turn it into something that could be longer term if it displaces. So I'm hopeful to, we're week to week right now, but I'm trying to push my way through too as quickly as I can here and try to get this bone to heal, drinking lots of milk. And
it's good.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. But
Luke was saying that you might have to have some sort of like modified glove where it's all stitched together.
I call it the Ninja Turtle glove right now. I got 3 fingers. So, if it gets me on the ice sooner and playing, I'll wear whatever. So it's right now I got this stupid cast I have to wear as well on the ice. But, hopefully I can shed that here quickly and come Wednesday, I meet with the doc, and then we'll hopefully get some good news.
And you knew, like, when you delivered the punch, did you know right away?
Yeah.
Like,
I felt a burning. Like, I threw it, and I felt a burn. And I thought I cut myself. So many times you cut yourself on the helmet or the visor. And I looked at my hand as we were fighting, and I was like, I don't see any blood. And then I went to grab the jersey, and that's when I kind of felt it twist. Oof. And then I knew, I think I messed up my finger, and started throwing some open hand slaps at the end.
I like that you have time in the fight to, like, that's right. I'm sure it's fine. If that happens, like, and maybe not in this particular fight, but you've been in many before, if a guy's hurt, is there kind of a code to say, hey, take it easy, something's wrong? Or how does that whole exchange work between two guys who just decided to try to kill each other?
It's probably one of the funnier things in fights because you're literally trying to kill each other, but then as soon as the guy's like, hey, stop, my shoulder, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll stop. And like, I just was trying to mash your face in 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But there's a code because, at the end of the day, you're not fighting the guy for that reason. If he's hurt, he's hurt, and that's the last thing you want to do because there's, they got families, they have lives, and we're fighting for something not related to that. So I always try to have that respect. But in that fight, to me, it was more of a sending of a message. So I didn't want the fight to stop. So I didn't say, you don't say anything. It's a finger too. I don't even, at the time the adrenaline's pumping anyway, and you get in the box, you worry about it after. But it's I definitely have been on both sides of it, and I think it's the right thing to do if somebody's injured, but not in that one.
Well, anytime there's a big hit, there's a ton of discourse about, was the hit clean? Should there have been a fight? You on the ice don't have a time to determine. You're not going to look up at the replay and then be like, all right, now I'm going to fight you. So what goes into that decision, whether to drop the gloves? And I think Smith knew sooner or later, all right, that was Connor Bedard. Did my job, clean, dirty, however you want to say.
Yeah.
But he knows he has to answer for that, right?
Absolutely. I'm never a guy that's like, oh, was it clean? Was it? It's just it's the principle of the game. That's why I was talking about the game within the game earlier. Like you're fighting for every inch of the ice. So when a player takes out one of your players, whether it's clean or dirty, and honestly, the hit was clean. Like it was. You could he hits him in his shoulder to his face. So I don't love that, but it's we also have to be aware of our as players also of putting yourself in those positions. So I get that, but he's our best player, and you're targeting our best player in aspect. And I know it's everyone. There's no favors out there, and that's the way it goes. But as a teammate, you're not going to let that team get an inch on one of your better players, and likely they wouldn't do the same for us. So to me, that's where it comes into the game within the game, and you're not allowed. Now that team thinks, oh, if we can hit him, we can hit anyone, or now they're playing bigger because we're not answering. So it's to send a message too, like, no, we have our pushback too. And I was so proud of Kurashev, to be honest with you, originally, and when the hit happened, he just didn't even think, went right up to him and started cross-checking him, and that's what I love to see. It's not, you don't have to fight a guy, it's just what's the message in the room? How much do we really care about each other? If a guy goes down, are you willing to do? Maybe you're not a fighter, but you're willing to step in there and put yourself in harm's way. And I think it just builds a real serious bond, and that's usually what successful teams have.
So I'm really interested in this because I think of this from the other side of it, right? Let's say you're on the ice and there comes Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby. You're doing a calculation in your head, I assume, too, of, all right, if I deliver this blow, someone's going to be in my face right away, right? And for the people that say, like, fighting doesn't work in hockey, it doesn't deter anything, you can't quantify if a guy decided to lay a hit or not.
Yeah.
Right? And you are thinking about it. As a defender, you're saying, do I want to hit number 97 right now and get my face punched in, or am I going to let him go?
Yeah.
That's a real thing, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And that's a thought that's gone through my head, and it's what makes the sport kind of beautiful in a weird way, is that, you have that policing in itself, right? And if I do this, there's a response, there's a consequence sometimes, and I think that's why I think the sport is so unique and one of the best ways of bonding your team a lot of nights. So I've been on the side where you go after one of their guys, it's a playoff game or it's a game that you set the tone, and here comes somebody else trying to do it to you, or they go after one. So it's amazing how, and it brings everybody, their game, almost everyone's games elevates now, because it's a war. And that's why playoff hockey is so different than regular season. It's just, there's no friends out there. Not that there is even in the regular season, but there's a little bit more of a thought process sometimes.
Is there a fight in your career, you've been in a number of them, that stands out as like, maybe like you felt like the best coming out of it, or that it was just like good back and forth, or someone you fought said something funny in the middle of it and you're just like, wait,
I don't know.
Off guard?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I haven't really. Every time I come out of a fight, if I'm still standing, I'm usually pretty happy. So I think you should always fight a little scared. I don't know. I fought. There's so many different reasons why and things that there's never really been one that I would say. I know fighting Ryan Reeves, I laughed because I was like, oh, now I understand weight classes. Like when he punched me, I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll probably say that a few times, but
cool.
I was like, wow, that's a different weight behind that punch, because he hit me in the helmet and it felt like he hit me in the bare skull. So those are like, and then it's kind of fun. You're like, all right, this is gonna be a little more of a challenge. You got to be a little more technical when you're fighting to not open yourself up, and so it's just, those are like that. Those are the ones you remember, kind of. And I mean, I never fought Wayne Simmons. I was his teammate in Toronto for a little bit, and we joked about that when I played with him, and then had a chance to fight him last year, which was pretty funny for both of us. And we had a good go, and you realize what makes him such a good technical fighter, and so it's kind of fun to have that. We laughed. That was one of those ones where we both we're proud of each other and kind of laughed about it after and got it out of our system. And I don't know. I enjoy it for. I'm not a stage fighter. I hate that stuff. Like I never liked that. I always felt bad for enforcers when I came in the league that had to do that. I just never thought that. And I know why they did it, and I appreciate it as a teammate. But I'm a guy that you fight for the reasons of protecting your teammates, and if somebody's pissing you off or you need to fight for that inch, then you do that. But those ones I always thought I felt more bad for our enforcers that they had to go and do that. That was a hard thing to watch, because I know what it. Sometimes you got to fight in a game, and you work yourself up for it because you know it's coming. Yeah.
Was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Was that Smith fight? Was that the longest fight you've ever been in? Because we were watching it and we were like, okay, anytime.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to let it go.
You can break it up at any time.
Yeah, I was like, that was one. I was even happy that he was good with it, because sometimes guys are like, no, I'm done, and I was like, no, we're not done, and so I give him a lot of credit. He's an honest player. That was one of the longer ones I think I've been. The worst are when you're at the end of your shift. And then that was the one in Nashville. I can just remember, I was already gassed. I dumped it in, and then I saw Kirsch get hit, and I was like, oh no. It's kind of my you're like, I should have passed to him. Maybe he wouldn't have had to go get it. So I went at him, and I was a little exhausted for that one. But your adrenaline comes flying back pretty quick.
Well, you mentioned how tough enforcers had it, and I'm going to totally drop a name here, but for a few years I worked with Bob Probert when he was doing radio, and he would say in his heyday he couldn't go out to a bar without some dude challenge him to a fight. He's, I'm out to dinner with my family. Yeah. I'm not going to fight you at an Applebee's, dude. But he said that was the life, and those guys in that time had to build themselves up every game. And if you ever read his book, he talks about the anxiety of being an enforcer. I think it's probably good that era's in your opinion, probably over, right?
Yeah.
Of like your job is to fight.
Yeah.
And Probert was a all-star, good player, but a lot of guys like that, that was their only job, and it took a mental toll, aside from just getting punched over and over.
Yeah.
Having to prepare yourself mentally every day to fight, it's got to be tough.
Well, and like also like that's the one thing. I'm glad you said it. Like a lot of the enforcers, like I played with a Brian McGrattan and like a Matt Karkner and the guys and Jody Shelley. I played against him, but I got to know him. Like they're actually good players. They play in the NHL. Like I always hated that too. Like they kind of got their skill taken away from them because it's like, oh, they're gonna fight. They're 5 minutes. They might play another 6 minutes in the game, but you almost you lose that part of like the appreciation for them. Like they in junior or wherever, they scored 20, 30 goals and were big parts. They just happened to be good fighters, and then that was the role they took on in the NHL and to stay. But that's what I didn't like about that role. But I respect it. Like it was so important at the time because every team had one. You get the Boogards and all those like you had to have a guy to protect because that's just the way the game was. But now I do like that it's just more of a, if two guys are going at it in the corner, it's that kind of fight. It's not the policing aspect of it now.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to ask Nick about the most important captain role he's ever had. That's a tease, mister. But first, we want to tell you about our friends at CIRCA Resort and Casino. It is Vegas's first ever adults-only casino resort. The world's largest sportsbook, 3-story stadium style. It takes 10 people to operate that 78 million pixel screen. They've got food from their Victory Burger. That sounds good. And wings. That sounds good. And Project Barbecue. That sounds good. Tons of VIP seating. The Dugout Club, Legends Club, Champions Club, Circa Club Upper, Circa Club Lower, North and South stands. This place is huge. It is awesome. If you've never been there, you need to check it out. It is a 7,000 square foot casino with 2 levels, 1,322 slots, 48 table games with dancing dealers. That is distracting, I will say. But stadium swim, a 4,000-person pool, 143 by 40-foot LED screen, open 365 days a year.
That's a lot of chlorine.
It sounds absolutely amazing. Make sure when you're headed out to Vegas, you go check out our friends at CIRCA Resort. Over 500 rooms with a variety of layouts to fit your needs. And art from local artists. Elevate your evening at the Legacy Club or any of their fine restaurants. Again, that is CIRCA Resort and Casino in Las Vegas.
4,000 people in a pool.
That's too many.
That's a lot
for me.
That's way too many.
Nope.
Well, you know where you can be in a pool with a proper capacity? That is the Midtown Athletic Club. They have 4 Chicagoland locations in Palatine, Bannockburn, Willowbrook, and right here in the city, the Midtown Athletic Club and Hotel. And this month, the month of January, Midtown is offering no initiation fees at their Bannockburn, Palatine, and Willowbrook locations. So if you are looking to get yourself right with your physical and mental health, Midtown Athletic Club, they're able to do it for you. If you're an individual or a family with kids, they have a lot of different options for joining and getting the most out of their amenities. Super luxurious locker rooms, wet and dry saunas, indoor and outdoor pools and hot tubs, high-quality gym equipment, high-intensity interval training courses, yoga, boxing. You talk about fighting, boxing at Midtown Athletic Club, they can get you ready for that. Cycling, group fitness, and if you love tennis, they are the place to be. Midtown has indoor and outdoor courts for tennis, pickleball, paddleball, everything under the sun with a paddle and a ball, and it is all USTA professional quality. So head over to midtown.com/CHGO. Find out more about the Midtown location nearest to you and schedule your tour.
All right, Nick. In 2015, you had the honor of being the captain of the All-Star Game. And you got to draft your All-Star team. They're bringing that back this year.
That's so awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
Oh.
And fans loved it. What was that like? Did you approach that whole thing? And by the way, for those that forgot, it was Team Foligno versus Team Taves.
Yeah.
So we had our eyes on that for sure in Chicago. That was the heyday. Yeah. But what was that like? Did you have any sort of strategy, or did you just sit down and pick your buddies?
I think it was Dowdy, Kane, and I. I think I had Kaner on my team, right?
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I had obviously no clue what to expect. It was my first All-Star game, and to be captain, I was nervous as hell. And then we get to that draft, and we maybe enjoyed ourselves a little too much with some drinks, but it made for great TV. Like, they were loving it. I remember the producers were like giving us the keep going. We're like, I don't think you want this to keep going, but I remember it just being a blast. I think we traded Taze and Seguin because they had that like storied
Kessel
and Seguin, which was pretty funny. So that was a fun little thing. And then I remember Ovi just dying to be drafted last. Like, he was like, draft me last. I want the truck.
He wanted that Accord.
Yeah. And we didn't let him get that. So that was kind of funny. He was pretty pissed off, actually. But yeah, it was honestly really fun. I think all the guys genuinely enjoyed it too. Like, we had a lot of good laughs. I remember Dowdy and Kane and I were laughing pretty good with those guys. So yeah, it was pretty special.
Now, what was that? So the All-Star experience, I feel like sometimes for some guys it feels like it kind of gets in the way of that actual break of the season. So, does the honor of being an All-Star outweigh the actual like getting a week off in the middle of the season to kind of like get your body right, get away from the game for a little bit?
Yeah, because I think to be recognized in that light is pretty special, right? Like, you're considered one of the best players in that season, or multiple times throughout your career, and I think it's just a great honor to you're representing the league too, right? Like, I remember as a kid, I always watched the All-Star Game. I watched the skills competition, so you have that responsibility to the kids that are watching, to marketing the league. You're considered one of the best at the time, and I don't think that should ever be taken lightly. I think it's an honor, and you should be humbled by that, and go and represent your team and yourself in the way you should, right? And I think you get plenty. Now we have the bye week too, which helps. Right? I remember before the All-Star you didn't get any break, but now guys really have nothing to complain about. You still get some time to go away with your families if you want to, and enjoy a little break. So I never think that should ever come into play where you're mad that you're going to an All-Star game. I do understand there's guys that have gone 10 times, and they maybe would like a little bit of time to rest an injury because they know the playoff push is coming, and I understand that aspect. So there's always a give and take, but it's a privilege to be there and an honor. And like I said, you're representing your team, your organization, your own teammates, right? And it's a lot of fun. As much as it's a pain and some of the things you have to do, it's a blast. You get to be in a real relaxed environment, which we don't get very often throughout the year, with a lot of great players to kind of rub elbows with some of the greats in the game at the time, and have a lot of laughs and unbelievable memories. And I'll cherish my time that was one of the most special things to do, and especially in Columbus, putting our team on the map a little bit in our city and showcasing how big of a hockey town that place was. And it was pretty special to be a part of.
We're a very pro Phil Kessel podcast.
Oh yeah,
we've been blowing
Phil
that trumpet
thrill
for 2 years now to get him here. So you tried your hand in recruiting the other day with the Jason Dickinson. So you any thoughts of saying I've traded for Phil Kessel?
You did draft him, yeah.
I know. I would take. Yeah, I mean, why not? He's a great player.
I mean, he's right there.
I played with Phil when I was 16. We played on the U.S. program together, so I've known Phil a long time, and I've always been an admirer of his game. And I mean, he's played a lot of years and put a lot of miles on, and the Ironman streak and cups, and so I've always admired him. He's a different guy in a lot of ways, but that's what I love about him. I think that's what's like awesome. He's not your prototypical superstar, but he's got he's a great guy. All guys love him, and he'd definitely be welcome here if he wanted to come. I don't know what his plans are. I don't know what he's up to these days. I kind of lost touch with him over the time, but Phil, if you're listening, we'll take you, man. Come on over.
There it is. All right, we've been saying that for a year and a half. It hasn't worked.
Yeah, me and Greg look at him as the peak male form. That's what we're pushing towards.
It'd be nice to walk into the locker room and see a guy that looks just like me.
Well, everybody's got a
real quick though. Phil is really strong.
Oh,
one thing like that's a
believe it,
misconception. I know his body looks, but his legs. That guy was squatting 400 pounds at 16 years old. Like, it was crazy how strong he was.
Well, the worst thing for him was that USA picture that came out. That team picture. It was just such a whoever that photographer was. Everyone looked as bad as possible, and they caught him at the worst time. But everybody's got a great Kessel story. Do you have any Kessel stories that you're willing to share, able to share?
I think I've told it already. When I was in the U.S. program, we used to have the box. We had a boxing coach that would come in and kind of try to teach us. We're 16. We had to play in this junior league, so it was just like more to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And he would bring one of his Golden Glove boxers that was our age. And Phil didn't love that aspect of hockey, obviously, and he'd have to go in there. His name was George, the kid that we had to fight or box, and you had to last like a certain amount of time in there with him. So I just remember we'd die laughing because Phil would just run around the ring for as long as he could to not get hit. And
Brilliant.
It ended up being a pretty genius idea. We all started copying him, but he wasn't going to go in there swinging, that's for sure. But I kind of admired that he owned what he was, and he's like, I'm a goal scorer, I'm not doing this. So
that's the type of mentality that's got him, almost 900 straight
longevity
NHL games.
Yeah, he's not stupid.
Obviously, you got to be in some sort of athletic conditioning to do that.
Yeah.
We poke fun at that stuff, but
oh my god,
like he's a one of a kind.
Yeah, I'd rather be punched repeatedly than run.
I'm with you on that. I'd rather stand in there and fight than have to
you give
run
me the
around.
headgear. It's a flip of a
But
coin.
not against this guy. This George guy, oh my, he
I'm
gave
sure,
me nightmares. We'd all cringe. It was on Wednesdays. He'd be like, oh, it's Wednesday.
And he's walking in just like
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's like, how many hockey players can I punch in the face?
right.
today?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, tough guy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get back to the current team a little bit, and we are now officially halfway, or maybe a game beyond halfway.
Beyond halfway,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, your leadership is talked about all the time. I'm sure you're tired of talking about your leadership. But one thing I want to ask you is, through this half season and through this recent coming together of the team, who are some of the guys you've seen kind of emerge in terms of having a voice, or even just kind of leading by example in the room?
Yeah. That's been really fun actually for me to see. Because genuinely, I didn't know many guys outside of like Connor Murphy and Seth Jones coming into the team, which surprised me playing as long as I have.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, but it shows you how young our team is too. But I've been really impressed. I know I vouched for him already in Dickinson. I'd heard lots of great things, but I've just been so impressed with his professionalism and the way he's handled himself, and how much he cares about our team, and wants this to get better fast too, like myself and a lot of others in the room. And like even just some of the young guys too. Like I've been really impressed with Vlasic. I just find he is like very steady and he's a lead by example kind of guy, no maintenance. But I think we got a special one in him, and just the way he kind of comes in and prepares, the way he is in the room with the guys. He's already like a team favorite, and just his attitude and personality, and he's eaten a lot of minutes too. And unfortunately in a lot of ways, just because he's already having to handle so much, but it's unfair, but he's handled it really well, and just kind of even asked for more sometimes. So, and getting to know a guy like Tenorti too, and it's funny, like the list goes on. Tyler Johnson, I didn't realize how smart of a hockey player he was. I admired him. He's obviously got cups and playing against him, but I didn't know how great of a student of the game he was, and how he looks at the game. I've really enjoyed talking to him about the game. I find he breaks it down really well as one of the players I played with. So, but there's guys, different aspects, but I just, it's neat to see, the guys that you don't know much about, and I've talked about it. I can probably go around the room, but what I've appreciated is every guy is genuinely here to try and move this forward, and that's what's important to me is, you can have some guys who are just happy to have a job and are just okay being. There's majority of our group that is just really like, how can I be part of this team and make myself better, which will help the team get better, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, like last year's team, I know you weren't on it, but there were guys that were definitely here on, I'm going to bet on myself contract so I can move on to a better situation. This year, the guys they're signed longer term, and even like Taylor Hall.
Yeah,
they're guys that are going to be here for a while, and I do think it does have a bit of a different feel where guys have a more feeling of permanence. Where at this point last year, all we were talking about was who's going, who's getting traded, and aside from maybe a few times this year, we've hardly talked about that at all on this show. We do 5 shows a week. You think it would come up, and it's barely talked about because it does feel like this group is kind of more committed and more focused on being here.
It's actually something that even said in the room. It's like last year, from what it sounds like, everyone was like, okay, who's leaving?
Yeah.
And now it's my conversations with guys like, who wants to be here? Really, let's get down to it. Who wants to be here and help move this thing forward? And, I've been impressed with a lot of the guys that they genuinely want to be here. So now it's about doing it and consistently doing it and showing. And it's one thing to say it, but what are you doing to really show it, right? So that's where we got to get to next. And it's been a great step in the right direction. A lot of guys, I mean, I've been really impressed with our play of late. I know we haven't gotten the results, but I see a different mindset in our team the past 3, 4, 5 games here. It's just been awesome to see.
You mentioned Seth Jones. Is he a little down about the Cowboys today?
Yeah, he was. There's a few. I know Kevin Dean, our coach, was very happy about the Pack winning. He's a Packer fan, so there was some chirping going on in the room, and yeah, he was pretty down. He just said, "Cowboys did it to me again." So sorry, that was a crazy game though. I didn't honestly see that coming.
That's how every Bears-Packers game goes. Pretty much all of them.
I'm learning that too.
Yeah.
We got to get the Bears back to. We're gonna get better, and they're gonna get better. I can feel it.
Hope so.
Oh, you just moved to town. We can tell with that. That's not gonna happen.
That's
you got to have hope, baby.
That's adorable.
You got to have hope.
Now, you're originally from Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Bills played
you see
this
the
afternoon.
snow?
Yeah.
It's my childhood.
Yeah.
My kids had a snow day. No offense, like Chicago, grow up with that snow day. That was embarrassing.
You didn't get them growing up. I never got a snow day here.
Yeah. It was like not even an inch, and it was like slush.
Yeah.
And my kids were just they had their underwear inside out, a spoon underneath their pillow to make sure they got a snow day the next day. I'm like, what is happening here? And apparently that's like all the rage now. You got to do all sorts of crazy stuff to get a snow day. It worked. But I was pissed because my snow days were like literally you could open the door and it'd be a wall of snow. And they're like, I'm probably not going to school today in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. It's easier for now because like my daughter has to do the virtual. So they always have to log on. There's actually not a snow day anymore, which kind of sucks. I remember waking up in the morning and watching the TV, like looking for my school
underneath
at the bottom.
ticker.
Yeah.
That was the best.
That was the best.
Yes.
And you would see it and then either go back to bed or go outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's all, I feel bad for kids now. It's all virtual.
Yeah.
They had your kids had an actual snow day?
Snow day on Friday.
Like nothing
this
to
past
do?
Friday. Yeah. Just they've had a 4-day weekend.
Oh,
They're
that's
just
awesome.
they're living. My wife's crying and they're living the life. Yeah.
That's why you were so eager to come here.
Yeah.
You're like, I would help,
No,
but
they were-
I got to see a
They had a
show
big
for it.
hockey tournament actually, Wisconsin Dells, which I'm hearing is only really nice in the summertime. Not much going on there right now.
You can't go down water slides in January.
No. So my wife was at a Great Wolf Lodge this weekend with 3 kids and
Nice.
about 1,000 other kids from the tournament screaming and yelling. So she's gonna need a glass of wine tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, were you a Bills fan?
Yeah.
Have you jumped through a flaming table before?
No, that's gonna be on the bucket list when I
All right.
retire. Yeah. I gotta wait till I'm done playing.
Got at least 2 more years.
Yeah.
I suffered through 4 Super Bowls. That was my childhood. Jim Kelly, Andre Reed. That was, man, those were some hard times. But yeah, I've stuck with them, and I'm hoping for some good news tonight.
Yeah.
Speaking of your childhood and watching sports, was there one guy growing up? I mean, you grew up, your dad was in the league, so you were exposed to it from day one. But is there a guy in your childhood that you watched that made you like fall in love with the game? Like for me, it was when like Jeremy Roenick was on the Hawks. I liked hockey at that point.
Yeah.
But like when JR got here and was doing his thing with his swagger, I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever.
cool.
Was there a guy for you like that growing up?
Like, obviously it was my dad. I give him a ton of credit because like the passion that he played with, I think, was passed down to me. Like he genuinely loved the game, and I would see it. And then, but I was 7 when he retired, so I don't really remember him a ton playing. But I remember always like just the way he played and stories and things like that. So the first player that really made me fall in love with the game was probably Peter Forsberg. Was I was like, that guy is unbelievable.
my dude.
And like I was obsessed with him. I think I make a joke like my dad coached that team in 98, 99, and just right before 2000. He was assistant coach, and back then you could really go in the locker room a ton. The kids were I was allowed to go any day off. I'd be in the room and just kind of in the room, like they'd be meeting, and I'd be sitting there. And I just remember like kind of creeping out Peter Forsberg. Like I'd just be like wanting to I'd just be staring at him, and like, and now I'm like thinking of it as a player now. I'd be like, that's got to be so weird if you got the 10-year-old kid like looking at you all day,
Staring
just like,
at
hey
you.
Peter, and like I'd be at some point like, hey Mike, get this kid out of this room, please, But that's how I remember just being like, when I went to Colorado Avalanche games, I would watch him. I noticed that he would always hop the boards and then always come in the door when he got off the line change. Like he would never jump over the boards, but to get off the ice, so I would do that when I would play. Like it's little stupid things, but that's what I think makes me a kid again with like when I play is like I know maybe they're not watching me. They're all watching Bedard now, to be honest with you. My kids are hilarious. They're doing what I used to do to Peter to him now. I feel bad. They're just following him around the room like little
giving
ducklings.
their stick to the trainer on the way off warm-ups.
Yeah. But it reminds you like that kids are watching. People are watching, and you know, it's a cool feeling to know that like you have that impact and can on somebody that maybe they fall in love with the game because of you or one of your teammates, and there's a responsibility there. So I think it's as a kid that had that, I think it's a pretty cool thing to remember.
It's so cool you mentioned that because I thought of something the other night that Roenick used to do this that I loved. Before the anthem would end, he'd be lined up, and at the last line he would take off and go behind the goal and come back. McDavid did that the other night. Before the anthem ended, he sort of took off, and I would love to ask him someday, like, if that was inspired by Jeremy Roenick. Probably not.
That's why he wears 97, right?
But maybe that's why he wears 97.
That lap was a little faster than JR's probably, though.
I would think so. It was over quick.
It was probably over in 2 seconds.
But it's cool that you see. I love that stuff because that's the sort of stuff like, yes, goals are great and fights are great and all those things, but it's those little quirks about the game. It's like baseball and batting stances, right? Or whatever the little thing might be that makes you fall in love with it. But I'm with you on Forsberg. He was the coolest. And even now, he's with the glass. He looks like a European, like a adult film star, for lack of a better word.
No,
he just like he's got he's just got this swag about him in the eyes.
He had
and
the wolf eyes.
Yeah.
I remember saying like the blue, and then like just even the way he played though. He was like the skilled physical guy. Like remember the reverse? He would always do the reverse check into guys, and
he
I just thought that
line.
was like that. I was like, that's how I want to play. You know?
Are you glad you never had to fight him?
Yeah.
That was my team though. That like those Avalanche Cup teams, late 90s, early 2000s. That was my playoff team because unfortunately, as a Blackhawk fan, you weren't getting playoff games then.
At that time,
so I always had a playoff team. Once the playoffs started, I started rooting for those Avs teams.
Yeah.
Because of guys like Forsberg and Sakic and all, but also because of that rivalry they had with the Red Wings.
Oh, man.
So it was the friend, the enemy of my enemy is now my friend. So I'm going to root for the Avalanche because,
That was my first game. My dad coached in Detroit, and that was my first game. I got to watch him coach the Avalanche was in Detroit when they went back after that, when Draper got hit by Lemieux, and that's when they had the line brawl, and I would just remember being in the stands and like I luckily like hid my Avalanche shirt. I was with my sister and my uncle, and we're watching the game, and oh man, that was a war. And I was like, the NHL is awesome. We got Patrick Waugh. It was just that was electric. That was a pretty cool memory for me. I remember that game like yesterday.
It's just a team full of personalities, and like you said, we can see it at games. I can't believe how many kids and people already have Bedard jerseys.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's even when Kane and Taves got here, it took a while to catch on because the Hawks were so kind of dead before that people had to slowly kind of build in. And now with the 3 cups, people are still around, and now their kids are fans, and like that, they've got Bedard jerseys. It's unreal, and I'm sure he's feeling the same thing from your kids. Just
they
glaring at him.
driving. He's so good with them, thankfully. But I just laugh because I remember being that kid. So I'm trying to like, hey guys, give him some space.
Yeah,
he needs to go to the bathroom right now. Like, let's just not follow him in the urinal. But it was pretty funny though today when we skated. And he's out there, and I just laughed. I had to look up at one moment, and like it must have got around that he was on the ice.
It did,
because the amount of people that just started showing up and just cameras, and it's amazing the world we live in now with the social media and But you know what? He lives up to it, man. He lives up to the hype, and that's probably the most gratifying thing. I think a lot of times you meet these people and they don't quite live up to it, unfortunately. He's a guy that I'm proud of him. He's definitely done that today.
Well, he's been through a ton. I mean, you mentioned the social media thing. We're not going to get specific. We're talking about what was that like for him, and was there anything you can kind of offer to him in a situation like that where
well, honestly,
all of a sudden it's a nightmare is happening around him,
My biggest thing I did talk to him about it because it was just so unfair. But I said, this is a great lesson for you in that your whole life you've probably been built up, right? Like never really had any bad media. What could you say about him? He was a phenom from 12 years old or even before then. And I think it was his first dose of how quickly things can turn on you just for no reason at all. Yeah. And how don't put so much value into that stuff, and don't, realize what it is sometimes, and you stay true to who you are morally. And that's all that matters, right? And your teammates love you, your family loves you, and all that other stuff is fleeting anyway, right? They're going to love you one day, they're going to hate you next. They're going to build you up, they're going to want to tear you down. That's the world we live in, and that's sports in general. So I think when you kind of can get to that understanding sooner than later, especially as a young kid, you can kind of handle those pressures a lot better. I mean, he's been doing it his whole life, but that was the first time where it was unsolicited, unfair, and it had nothing to do with hockey, nothing to do with anything, and it was all bullshit. And so I'm proud of how he handled that, and I'm proud of how the group surrounded him, and now we're through it on the other side.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's handled it with grace, and the first time we had you in, we talked about just the level of attention he's getting, and I think it's kind of unprecedented. I guess I would assume McDavid had the same coverage in Canada when he came in, but
I gotta admit,
it's just
imagine.
I don't know how he handles it. I think if it was me, I just would have run into a cave somewhere and gone away forever. But
how my rookie season was, I remember it very, very.
Lights everywhere.
He figured out if he
All the
stays on the
attention.
on the ice all day, he can never talk.
That's true. Yeah.
He waits
he's
us
not
out.
stupid,
That's
yeah.
it. He gets the signal that we're gone, and then he jumps off the ice. So
Oh,
it's
man.
smart.
We can see him though getting, even when we have the scrums in the locker room, he's getting more comfortable, and I think starting to trust a little bit from the local media at least, and he's loosening up, and it's good to see. But I wanted to talk to you more about your decision to stay in Chicago. I'm sure now that you're going to be here for a while, have you found any spots you love, any favorite restaurants, any favorite things to do with the family?
Man, we're still figuring it all out. We just love our area right now. We've enjoyed Wicker Park area. That's kind of where we settled, and I mean, my kids went to the ice cream factory. That's the ice. They really love that place. I haven't gone there yet. We really like the Perch. That's been a nice family restaurant, but good food. Have you guys been to that place at all?
I haven't been to
It's
that.
on Division. It's worth checking out. We really like that spot. Cafe Istanbul, my wife and I tried out. It was unbelievable on
Heard of
Division.
that, yeah.
And then obviously there's always the staples. But yeah, we're enjoying like checking out the areas. I actually went to go visit a former teammate of mine out in Winnetka. Did I say that right?
It's my neighborhood.
That's not where he lives.
You guys are rich
No,
out
I don't
there.
live. I live next to Winnetka.
It's the other
I was
side of the
like,
highway.
Where am I?
No.
That is a gorgeous.
When I drive through there, cut through there to go someplace in my Toyota Camry, the police check me out. You don't belong here. What are you doing? Keep
That's
going.
what I found out. Vlas is from up there, so I was
Yeah.
giving him the gears today.
He's from Wilmette. I live in Wilmette. Right
Okay.
now. I live in the poor side of
Well,
Wilmette.
Wilmette's pretty nice
It's
too. I don't know. I
nice.
drove through it. It's
It's
pretty
nice.
nice.
You were in
But
the-
it
you were
was
in the
it was
richer
cool to
part.
be up there because you don't get to get out to the suburbs very often, and I've heard another place is Hinsdale. A lot of guys settled in
That's
too.
a hockey. Yeah, that's
That's where a lot of the coaches.
Like,
I know Q
Adrian
lived out
Coyne
there.
Yeah,
and,
pretty
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and he's
you
out
gotta
that
have,
way.
You got to have some cash to live there too.
But yeah, I was just like, wow, it's beautiful. Like Chicago is, we've really enjoyed it. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Well, if you
city.
stay for the summer, now that you're committed,
Yeah.
I may be biased because I've lived here my whole life.
A little biased.
Nothing beats Chicago in the summertime.
Oh,
so
even when we
especially
got here in
even
August, I was
Wicker-
like, this is unbelievable. The patios,
yeah.
even just
just
what to
so
do.
many like Wicker Park. They'll have little street fests
Yeah.
all summer. Like so much to do.
It's awesome.
It's the best. So we're happy you're here for a couple more years.
Thank you. We're pumped.
yeah, you're gonna enjoy it, and there's no shortage of good food around here.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
That
I'm
is
learning that.
any kind of cuisine, any kind of culture you're looking for.
Can I ask you guys
This
a
is
real?
nice.
Have you heard the show The Bear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where is that place they're talking about?
So it's not real.
Yeah, but what is like it's based off of?
Well, there's kind
like,
of a
is
lot
it
of like Mr.
Italian
Beef
beef?
on Orleans
Okay.
is a really famous
I want to check
one.
it out. I want to know what
Al's Beef, the original Al's, is right on Taylor between what is it, Ashland and it's like Taylor and Loomis.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
You can't really miss it. Just go down Ashland, hang a left if you're coming from the United Center, and the original
It's
Al's
there?
is on
Okay,
your
I'll
right.
go check it.
and
I just want to try.
you can't miss it.
Yeah.
And
That's-
then in the
yeah.
summer across the street is Mario's Italian Ice, which is just a
mine.
little wood shack. That's unbelievable.
I love it.
But it's
All right.
That's
seasonal.
been there
See, I like
100
those kind of
years.
gems. Like that's
Yeah.
I gotta check.
Yeah,
that.
But that's
Al's-
Little Italy. That whole stretch
That
of
is
Taylor
right.
Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
I haven't. It's sad that
The original Al's is like kind of argued of like that's the originator of the Italian beef. So
Okay.
that's where you start, and
All right.
then
But a lot of those restaurants, a lot of the chefs they talked to on that show, those are legitimate Chicago. Like Kasama is you can't even get in. Even on a day like today, there'd be a line out the door.
Yeah,
But they use
We
all
looked up
real
that-
Chicago places.
That was cool.
Yeah. Al's and there's you can't go wrong.
No,
Even if you
I
went
can't
to
wait.
Portillo's, You
That's
get
what I've
shamed as
heard
a
of,
tourist,
but I
but
wanted to know.
it's a pretty good beef experience.
It's still very
Me and
good.
Gre- again, just me and Greg got you on all this stuff. We're happy to take care of it.
We'll
Whatever
go,
you need.
We'll go have a lunch. We'll do a podcast from over there.
Sure.
You won't be able to skate for a week. That's fine.
Yeah, it should postseason. Hopefully postseason.
Should we take a break before we
can do a quick
before we
one.
continue? Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's give you a moment here to talk about our pals over at Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets for your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with last-minute killer deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best priced guarantee. Game Time
heard it
takes the
too.
work. One-track mind. Takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can browse through the Game Time app, and you're going to see last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. I hear the Blackhawks have a lot of home games in February.
Sure
You can
do.
view from all the seats in the venue, lowest price guarantee, even event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all kinds of great things. Game Time obsessed with finding a way to help you save money on tickets. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute ticket deals. So take the guesswork out of buying with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CHGO. Spell that out, CHGO, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Nick, did you know that it is getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles?
I didn't, but thank you for telling
Well,
me.
I'll tell you more. It is something we can all get behind for the health of our planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it.
Yeah, Nick, the electric grid is evolving to meet your specific cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van, we know you have at least one, or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So to educate Nick and other business owners, Jay, since you sound so knowledgeable about this topic,
I am well studied.
tell them what to do.
Go to comed.com/clean. That's where I learned all this stuff. And you'll learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, don't wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. Good for business, good for the planet, good for all of us. Go to comed.com/clean.
Was that comed.com/clean?
You got it. Comed.com/clean.
sure.
Go there now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come. All right.
Perfect
Some
conversation.
Natural, organic conversation.
That really was
That
organic.
awesome.
Perfect
It
conversation.
really was.
I love it.
Now, our producer, Steven, had an idea before the show today, and we're going to play a little game here with Nick. Are we ready to go with this?
Oh, no. Producer Steven.
We are ready, he says.
All right. This is called the Faces of Foligno, and here's the game.
Oh, God.
We have a image service that we use for all of our posts, and we have found that when we search Nick Foligno, there are always interesting facial gestures made. So we're going to show your face on the screen, and you have to guess exactly what you're doing in this moment.
Oh, boy.
All right, so let's see the first slide here.
It looks like I'm trying not to get punched in the face. Is that possible?
That I believe that would be correct.
Looking like I'm
Yes.
looking
There
through
it
my-
is.
There it is.
There we
I
go.
think this might be the moment that your finger broke.
Oh, yeah, that is probably.
Yeah, you got like a half
Is that
fist
the open
going
hand
on?
slap? Yeah,
could be,
That could be it.
This is really good, by the way, for the YouTube audience. The podcast audience, go back to YouTube and check it out so you can see actually the pictures we're talking about.
It's pretty funny.
All right, it's 1-for-1. That's pretty good.
All right, picture number 2.
Oh, man.
This is a close-up.
This is what
it
it
looks
looks like
like
when you view your peephole and Nick's at your door.
Yeah, exactly.
The Ring doorbell, yeah.
This looks like I'm looking down at one of my kids in disappointment, but
Maybe you've never seen this photo.
I've never seen this
Pretty
photo.
good.
This was
I have
a
no
recent.
idea.
This was a recent game.
We'll text it
Was
to
it?
you.
It was yeah. This was a trip along the boards for you.
Those are the worst angle shots ever.
No one's ever
those
looked
suck.
good
the
in that
fish,
picture.
the fisheye lens.
No.
It's bad. Yeah.
That could have been a lot worse, actually. That's not bad. I'll take it.
All right.
All right,
Next one we got here.
A smile.
That's somebody scored. Had to have scored. I don't know who it was, but that's usually the face I make.
It's a
And
black helmet, so it's a home game.
it's a home game.
Yeah, home game.
Don't know, but if I'm smiling, it's because one of my teammates scored or I scored. Yeah,
It is you mobbing Connor Bedard.
There
I'm
you
guessing
go.
that's the Winnipeg.
Was that
game?
the overtime one?
That was the
Yeah, I
Winnipeg
think
win.
so,
Yep.
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 I actually loved his celly
memories.
there.
That
He
was
kind of
the
went like
game
the
over
over.
one?
That was
Yeah.
pretty sweet. I don't have those.
See,
I don't think
he acts humble. He's
Yeah.
oh shucks, you know, just
no,
little
he's got
me,
a
and then he
killer
scores
instinct.
and gives you the
Yeah.
sword and the. Soon he's
Yeah.
gonna
that's
do
what
the,
you want, though.
the
You
slit
act
throat.
humble and you slit him.
I love it.
Yeah, when
It's in there. It's definitely in there.
It's when
Yeah.
when he is most in his element is when he's playing hockey, and it's a completely different personality.
Yeah.
I mean, you can clearly see that even from an outside perspective.
How many more we got? One more.
You need an alter ego.
Two more, all right.
Two more.
I like this one.
Here's
Oh,
this one.
this one I was explaining how to get to the airport. I remember this one.
How to get
you
to
go
LB.
straight and then you hang a right. I don't know what this one is,
Give
but
it
that
some
looks
direction.
exactly how I give directions to my wife usually.
This believe this
She
was a
still needs nav to get
this
to
was
the
a
school.
preseason game because I believe you're giving directions to Martin Mishak.
Oh yeah. Don't listen to me, kid. You're doing it. You're doing fine. Don't listen.
The net is that way.
Score there.
I did it to my daughter at a volleyball game, and she served, and it didn't go over the net. And I go, Addie, it's got to go over the net. You got to break the tension. You got to break the tension. All right, last one here.
Last one.
All right, let's see.
This is.
Oh boy.
Oh,
wow.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
There we go.
There's another smile.
Oh yeah, I just smile. It's a goal though. If I smile, it's a goal. So yeah.
Yeah. This was.
Did I score this one though?
Yeah, I believe this was your goal
So
against.
it's a half
against the
smile. I
Predators
get
there.
way more excited when my teammates score, so I
Yeah.
can tell it was one of mine.
It's a good one.
It's a good
That
one.
is
It's
a good
always
one.
always good to score against.
And that's Gus
Nashville.
Nyquist pulling it out of the net, my former teammate. So screw you, Gus.
Now is that Gustav Nyquist or Thomas Tatar? Because we get the two.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
we
no.
think they're
we
the
don't
same
we don't
guy.
think that they've ever
Gustav.
been in the
Never
same
been in
place
the same
at the
room?
same time.
That's
Yeah.
like me and the Philadelphia
Back me
Eagle
up on
coach.
this though. They're like the same player.
Yeah. I don't know.
Even if you
Gus
look at
was
like,
all, I mean,
statistically,
are they?
they're almost
Oh, wow.
identical in every category.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've never noticed that. It's
Yeah,
I play with
weird.
Gus. He's a good player, really good player. He's having a hell of a year too in Nashville right now. But
Well, he can do that.
yeah,
Enjoy.
screw you, Gus.
there you go.
All right.
That's awesome. I like that
was
game.
That was a fun first visit. Thanks for doing it. We
Guys,
love
thank
having you
you.
here. We'll figure out when the next one is. We haven't gotten that far yet. We had to get you here first. Hopefully the weather is a little bit better next time.
Wait till it's above
Yeah, we could
freezing.
do.
for
Yeah,
that
we
show.
could do
Yeah.
without this
Yeah,
right now.
Definitely.
But-
But look for Nick at Al's Beef in about a half hour. He'll be there.
Why did Nick come back 20 pounds overweight? I have no idea.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it, Nick. We
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me, guys. This is gonna be fun.
And we are back tomorrow. We've got a post-game show, Hawks and Sharks. Now, all right, led myself to this. We look at the schedule and we pencil in wins, and it feels like sometimes when we pencil in the wins, they become disastrous.
You don't.
Like Columbus was bad, and the Phoenix game was bad, and Montreal game was bad. How can we prevent another bad San Jose game?
Well, I think the mindset, right? Like that's what I've seen shifted. So I don't think we're in any position where we feel like we're going to take anyone for granted. And I talked about that. We need to earn respect, and the guys are really understanding of where that line is right now. So I think the hunger of playing well and not getting the result should drive us to having our best game and hopefully getting the result tomorrow against a team that's also looking to right their ship.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hard game. You can't. I always say it doesn't matter what your record is. Every game's, the better team's going to win. So whoever comes out with that mindset, and hopefully it's us. And seeing practice day the way the guys practice, I think they're feeling good after a day off and ready to go get back at it.
All right. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating the win tomorrow post game. Make
we
sure
will
you
be.
join us there. And we want to remind you the CHGO Blackhawks show is powered by ComEd. It's getting easier for your business to switch to electric vehicles. Learn more at comed.com/clean. For Greg and Mario and Nick, I'm Jay. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.